Senator Mullin, you have made several public statements suggesting that you were involved in special security forces or combat operations overseas. In 2023, you said in a Senate Republican Conference podcast, and I say, I'll quote, "There's another side of my bio that I don't ever talk about, nor will I. I had to go do something overseas." On March 2nd of this year, you told Fox News interview, quote, "War is ugly. It smells bad. If anybody has ever been there and been able to smell the war that's happening around you and taste it and feel it in your nostrils and hear it, it's something you will never forget." On March 3rd, in a podcast interview, you stated, quote, "I did special assignments outside of DOD, now DOW. I never wore the uniform or the flag on my shoulder, but I might have been in the same area." Your statements in public interviews and your responses to the committee are, quite frankly, are confusing and they are inconsistent. And I'd like you to clear this up. You're under oath. We can clear it all up right now.
Today, we're taking a closer look at a moment from a recent Senate hearing that's been getting a lot of attention online. In the clip, Senator Gary Peters questions Senator Markwayne Mullin about overseas travel and potential conflicts connected to that travel. The exchange gets tense at one point, especially when Peters reminds Mullin that he is speaking under oath and suggests that everything could be cleared up right there in the hearing. It's one of those moments that reminds people how serious congressional oversight hearings can become. Before we break down what happened and what it might mean, take a second to support the channel. If you appreciate thoughtful conversations about politics without all the shouting and tribalism, hit the like button and subscribe to 45th Perspective. It really helps the channel grow and reach more people who want calm, fact-based discussions. And if you want to support the work we're doing here even further, you can also check out our Patreon at patreon.com/45th Perspective, where supporters help keep this channel independent and focused on long-form analysis. Now let's talk about the hearing itself.
And first, I'd like to ask unanimous consent to enter into the record my letter to you on March 11th and your addendum to the committee of March 12th regarding any overseas special assignments.
Without objection.
So my question for you, sir, is before your time in Congress, other than on vacations with your family, have you ever traveled to a foreign country?
No.
You've never traveled to a foreign country?
Outside of vacation or mission work, no.
Okay. Have you, your FBI report does show some travel. I think it was to Georgia and Azerbaijan. You marked that that was not for tourists.
Are you referring to August of 2021 when we went to go get the Americans out of Afghanistan?
I'm just
That's
saying.
what that travel was for, which
Okay.
we did
So
clarify that.
you have traveled. So you've traveled to Azerbaijan and Georgia. That was in your FBI report, although you just said you've never traveled.
Sir, I thought you were referring to a different time, but in 2021, it was well documented. In fact,
Okay.
it was all over the news, and I actually did say that, and we put that down on the report. But that was us, which was all over the news, trying to go with a extremely experienced team.
I've got other questions, thank
Yeah.
you. But so you have traveled overseas, despite your previous comment. Were you ever, excuse me, ever an employee, volunteer, or otherwise involved with the Department of Defense, the State Department, or other U.S. agency or contractor for any of those departments?
No, and Senator, I think there's a misunderstanding here that I could clear up if you want me to clear up for you.
Please.
Okay, so, which this is official trip, and it is classified. But in 2015, I was asked to train with a very small contingency and go to a certain area, which was scheduled for 2016. During that time, I was asked to go through, had to meet certain training qualifications, had to go through SEER training. The training and stuff was kind of fun. The SEER training was absolutely awful. And I have spoken in general about my experiences, but I've never spoke specifically on details, on dates, or on the mission. And that was official, And there was nothing in the report to the committee. Actually, it said you do not have to claim any official trips. And like I said, that was an official trip that is classified.
This is an official trip while you were a member of Congress.
Yes. 2015, 2016, I was a member of Congress.
And it was
Some of it may be public, but it would be very small. Most of it, because of my recollection, which we're going back 10 years, I think there was only 4 people read in on it.
So where was that trip?
I just said it's classified, sir.
It's classified. So the letter that we sent to you said that we need to have information of any of these activities.
It said not official trips. Your paperwork was very clear, excluding any official trips. This was an official trip as a member.
Well, we have more questions we're going to have to ask. When in the FBI report, I asked, is there anything in that report that is classified, that you were involved in any kind of classified operation at all? And there's none.
It was also excluding, it also said excluding official duties. It says that. And you guys had the paperwork in front of you, and it always says excluding official duties. We had this committee come to us and ask the same questions. We talked about doing mission work. We talked about doing mentorship. But they said official duties that was in your official capacity does not have to be talked about.
So where did you smell war?
Sir, I just said that this was classified, and the dates, locations, and admission, I've never spoke specifically details about.
Well, we can get that information.
That's fine.
Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome to get it.
We will want to find out more information about that.
That's perfectly okay,
It's important to
Senator.
have the truth here, and that you're portraying yourself in a truthful way. It's
Sir, I'm
important
not
for a
portraying
secretary.
myself in any way other than you're asking the question. I said I would try to clear it up for you.
We'll continue to work on that.
Thank you.
After DHS officers shot and killed 2 American citizens this past January, you joined top administrative officials in publicly blaming and disparaging the victims. Following the killing of Renee Good, Secretary Noem called her a domestic terrorist. You, sir, you called Alex Preddy, quote, a deranged individual that came in to cause max damage. Could we expect those kinds of quick responses if you are confirmed as secretary? Would you be basically, well, you did, you responded as Secretary Noem. Are we going to just expect that same behavior all over again?
No, Senator. I have a deep amount of respect for you. We've had our differences, but I do respect you. I think I said this privately when we had a conversation. Those words probably should have been retracted. I shouldn't have said that, and as secretary, I wouldn't. The investigation is ongoing. And there is, like I said, there's sometimes going to make a mistake, and I'll own it. That one, I went out there too fast. I was responding immediately without the facts. That's my fault. That won't happen as secretary.
So you regret that statement?
I already said that. Yes, sir.
Would you want to apologize to the family of Alex Preddy?
Well, sir, I just said I regret those statements.
Is that the same as an apology?
I haven't seen the investigation. We'll let the investigation go through, and if I'm proven wrong, then I will absolutely.
How would you characterize your relationship with President Trump?
He's a friend.
How frequently have you spoken with him in the past year?
Often, most of the time about my family. If you want to explain the friendship, I'll tell you. My wife will tell you the same thing. When someone loves your kids when they're going through a difficult time, like we have, the amount of outpouring of support from the president and the friendship we saw going back to 2000 or 2020 was quite remarkable. And so I speak to the president from a friend level more than I do a policy level.
Okay. I have more questions, but my time is up.
Thank you, Senator.
Doing it in a second round.
Okay, thank you.
Senator Moreno.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Senator Johnson.
Congressional hearings are designed to be a form of oversight. Senators and representatives question witnesses, examine policies, and sometimes challenge each other on issues that could affect public trust. In this case, the focus was on overseas travel and the questions surrounding whether those trips were appropriate or connected to any conflicts of interest. During the exchange, Senator Peters pressed Senator Mullin about details surrounding those trips. Peters' line of questioning suggested that there were inconsistencies or unanswered questions that deserved clarification. At one point, he emphasized that Mullin was under oath, which raised the stakes of the moment. When someone testifies under oath in Congress, it means they are legally obligated to tell the truth, and misleading statements can have serious consequences. From Peters' perspective, the goal seemed to be straightforward accountability. Lawmakers often argue that public officials should be transparent about travel, finances, and outside connections because those things can potentially influence decision-making. If a senator travels abroad for reasons that might intersect with business interests or political relationships, some people believe it's important for the public to understand the details. On the other side, supporters of Mullin argue that these types of confrontations can sometimes be more political theater than genuine investigation. Critics say that congressional hearings often become platforms for viral moments rather than careful fact-finding. When senators challenge each other publicly, especially on camera, there's always the possibility that the exchange is partly aimed at shaping public perception rather than simply uncovering facts. Watching the clip, you can see both dynamics at play. Peters appears focused on pressing for clarity, repeating his questions and emphasizing the seriousness of the oath. Mullin, meanwhile, responds by defending his actions and pushing back on the implication that anything improper occurred. This kind of back and forth is actually very common in Washington. Congressional hearings are one of the few spaces where lawmakers confront each other directly in a formal setting. And because the stakes involve public trust, those conversations can become intense very quickly. For viewers trying to make sense of it, the key question is whether the hearing actually uncovered something meaningful or whether it was simply a dramatic exchange without major consequences. That's often difficult to determine in the moment. Sometimes hearings that seem explosive at first end up fading away once the full context becomes clear. Other times they become the starting point for deeper investigations or policy changes. Another important piece of context is that transparency around travel and finances has become a bigger issue in American politics over the last decade. Voters on both sides of the political spectrum have raised concerns about ethics, conflicts of interest, and the influence of outside money. Because of that, even relatively routine questions about travel can quickly turn into major political stories. At the same time, it's also important to remember that accusations or suspicions raised in hearings are not the same thing as proven wrongdoing. Congressional questioning can highlight areas where more information is needed, but the actual facts often take time to verify. That's why viewers should approach these clips carefully and look beyond the most dramatic moments. One thing I always encourage people to do is pay attention not just to the questions, but to the broader context. What was the purpose of the hearing overall? Were other witnesses involved? Was this exchange part of a larger investigation? Or was it just one moment within a longer policy discussion? Those details can help paint a more accurate picture. Another factor is how media outlets and social media clips present these moments. Short clips can make a confrontation look more dramatic than it actually was in the full hearing. That doesn't mean the moment wasn't important, but it does mean viewers should be cautious about drawing conclusions from a single segment. For ordinary Americans watching from home, the larger issue is accountability. People expect their elected officials to be transparent and responsible when it comes to travel, finances, and potential conflicts of interest. At the same time, they also expect fairness in how accusations are raised and discussed. Balancing those two expectations is one of the ongoing challenges of democratic oversight. In my view, exchanges like this highlight both the strengths and weaknesses of congressional hearings. On one hand, they show that lawmakers are willing to question each other and demand answers in a public setting. On the other hand, the confrontational style can sometimes make it harder to separate genuine investigation from political messaging. Ultimately, the real test is whether hearings like this lead to greater clarity for the public. If they encourage more transparency and more detailed explanations from public officials, that can be a positive outcome. But if they simply create viral moments without deeper follow-up, then the value becomes more questionable. That's why conversations like the one we're having on this channel matter. It's important to slow down, look at the facts, and consider multiple perspectives instead of reacting instantly to a headline or a clip. So now I want to hear from you. After watching the hearing or hearing about this exchange, what do you think? Do you see this as an example of necessary oversight, or does it feel more like political theater? Let's keep the conversation respectful and thoughtful in the comments. Your perspective helps make discussions like this more meaningful.